Have you ever wondered why all world maps are wrong? Now that's a question to ponder. So let's dive in. When we look at a map, we expect it to be an accurate representation of the world. But here's the catch. All world maps are, in some way, incorrect. This inaccuracy is due to something known as cartographic distortion. You see, trying to represent the world, a three-dimensional sphere, on a flat, two-dimensional surface, is a bit like trying to peel an orange and flatten the peel without tearing it. It's just not possible to do it perfectly. The same is true for maps. They are all distorted, and that distortion affects how we perceive the world. One of the most popular map projections, the one you've probably seen in your school textbooks or on the news, is the Mercator projection. It's been around since the 16th century and has shaped our understanding of the world in more ways than you might think. The Mercator projection is especially good at representing shape accurately, which was crucial for sailors navigating the high seas in the age of exploration. But it comes with a major downside. It dramatically distorts size and scale as you move away from the equator. For instance, Greenland appears massive, almost the same size as Africa, when in reality, Africa is about 14 times larger. Similarly, Russia seems larger than the whole of Africa, but that's far from the truth. These distortions have subtly influenced our perception of the world, leading to misconceptions about the relative importance and size of different countries and continents. So, we are left with a paradox. We need maps to understand the world around us, but the very tool we rely on is inherently flawed. It's a fascinating conundrum. The more accurately a map tries to represent the Earth's surface, the more distorted it becomes. So, you might be wondering, how did we end up with these distorted maps? Well, stay tuned to unravel the mystery of cartographic distortion and how it has shaped our view of the world. Our story begins in the 2nd century with a man named Ptolemy. A renowned geographer, mathematician, and astronomer, Ptolemy's work, the Geographia, laid the groundwork for the world of cartography. This monumental work introduced the concept of latitude and longitude, providing a framework that would shape the way we perceive our world. As we journeyed further into the Middle Ages, map-making or cartography became an essential tool for navigation and exploration. It was a time of discovery, of new lands and new peoples. Maps from this era, often beautifully illustrated, were as much works of art as they were practical tools. They depicted a world that was mysterious and full of wonder, yet they were based on limited knowledge and often filled with imaginative elements such as mythical creatures and fantastical landscapes. The Age of Discovery, spanning the 15th to the 17th century, marked a significant evolution in map-making. It was an era defined by extensive overseas exploration, led by European seafarers. This was when the world truly started to take shape on paper, as explorers returned home with tales of distant lands and foreign cultures. The maps from this period reflected the colonial perspective, often favoring the countries funding the voyages. Maps became a powerful tool of colonialism, used to claim territories and assert dominance. They were not merely representations of geographical reality, but rather, they were political instruments, shaping perceptions and influencing power dynamics. The world maps we know today are the descendants of these historical maps. They carry with them the legacy of centuries of exploration, discovery, and colonial influence. As we've expanded our knowledge and refined our techniques, our maps have evolved too. They've become more detailed, more accurate, and more representative of our diverse world. Yet, it's important to remember that every map is a product of its time, influenced by the understanding, technology, and biases of the people creating them. While these maps may have been revolutionary for their time, they were far from accurate. They are, in essence, a snapshot of our collective understanding of the world at a specific moment in history. Enter Gerardus Mercator, a Flemish cartographer with a solution. In the 16th century, navigating the high seas was a challenging endeavor. Sailors needed a map that could help them plot a straight course, despite the Earth's round shape. This is where Mercator stepped in. Mercator devised an ingenious solution, a new map projection, aptly named the Mercator projection. This innovative design allowed sailors to plot straight-line courses, known as rhumb lines, making navigation significantly easier. While the map was a godsend for seafarers, it was never intended to be an accurate representation of the Earth's landmass size or shape. The Mercator projection you see exaggerates the size of areas far from the equator. This is because it stretches the poles to infinity, making them look much larger than they are in reality. For instance, Greenland appears the same size as Africa on the Mercator map, when in fact, Africa is about 14 times larger than Greenland. This distortion occurs because the Mercator projection uses a cylindrical projection system. Imagine wrapping a piece of paper around a globe and then trying to flatten that paper into a map. Some areas, especially those near the poles, will have to stretch to make the flat map. This stretching is the root cause of the distortions we see on the Mercator map. However, it's essential to remember that Mercator's purpose was not to mislead or distort our understanding of the world. His primary goal was to aid navigation, and in that, he succeeded. The Mercator map became an invaluable tool for sailors, guiding them safely across vast and treacherous oceans. But over time, the Mercator map found its way into classrooms, textbooks, and popular culture. Without the proper context, this led to a widespread misinterpretation of the sizes and shapes of different countries and continents. The Mercator map, while useful for sailors, has given us a skewed perspective of our world. It's a reminder that maps, like any other tool, are designed with a specific purpose in mind, and their usage should align with that purpose. So, if the maps we've been using are wrong, what does the world really look like? Well, let's delve into the fascinating world of alternate map projections that have attempted to correct the distortions inherent in the Mercator map. First, let's talk about the Gall-Peters projection. This one is a bit of a rebel in the map world. It's an equal area map, which means it preserves the correct sizes of countries and continents. Africa and South America appear much larger than we're used to seeing them. But there's a trade-off. While the sizes are correct, the shapes are skewed. For example, Greenland looks stretched out horizontally, and the equator appears bowed. Another interesting alternative is the Winkel-Triple projection. This one is an attempt to balance size and shape distortions. It doesn't preserve either perfectly, but it offers a more visually pleasing compromise. Continents and oceans seem reasonably proportioned, but there's still a bit of distortion towards the poles. This projection is actually the one adopted by the National Geographic Society for their world maps. It's important to understand that each map projection comes with its own set of trade-offs. Some preserve the accurate sizes of continents at the expense of their shapes. Others maintain the correct shapes but distort the sizes. And some try to strike a balance between the two. What's fascinating is that these distortions are not just about cartography. They also have socio-political implications. For example, many argue that the Mercator projection, with its inflation of the size of the northern hemisphere, is a form of Eurocentric bias. In this light, the quest for the perfect map becomes not just a technical challenge, but also a philosophical one. It's about how we choose to represent our world, with all its complexity and diversity. As you can see, there's no perfect map. Each one is a compromise. But understanding these compromises can help us see the world more clearly, and perhaps even change the way we think about it. In a world where we can virtually explore any location, what is the future of mapping? As we venture into the future, the landscape of cartography is being reshaped by the rise of digital mapping technologies and three-dimensional representations. Traditional two-dimensional maps, although still prevalent, are being gradually replaced by these innovative tools that offer a more dynamic and immersive perspective of our world. Digital mapping technologies, such as Geographic Information Systems or GIS, are revolutionizing the way we understand geography. These tools allow us to analyze and interpret data in ways that were unimaginable in the era of paper maps. They enable us to overlay various types of information, from weather patterns to population density, creating a multi-layered picture of our planet. And then we have three-dimensional representations, which take mapping to a whole new level. Think about Google Earth, for instance. It allows us to virtually fly over any part of the globe, zoom in on a specific location, and even explore the streets of a city halfway across the world. It's like having a miniature version of the Earth at our fingertips. But the future of mapping isn't just about seeing our world from different angles. It's about accuracy and interactivity. The advent of technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality opens up the potential for more precise and engaging maps.